Most people don't understand that we are in the end times. Everyone is living their life anyhow they want. Many has forgotten their root. The testimony I will be sharing with you right now is not for you to panic, but is to set you right and prepare you for a great deception that will soon hit the world. If you are listening to me right now, I want you to give me a few minutes of your time, because this message is meant for you. We received this testimony from a man who died and was shown what he believed to be a warning to the whole world. Before I begin sharing his experience with you, please we would want to know where you are viewing from, so that our prayer team will commit you and your family in the hands of God. If you have done that, may God continue to protect you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Now I will begin sharing today's testimony with you. Hello, Daily Renewal team. Please kindly share my experience to your viewers. I would be very glad. Thank you and God bless you. My name is Christopher. I am 50 years old. I am not going to tell you my last name or where I live exactly, and I hope you understand why. I have a family. I have people who depend on me. And honestly, even now, after everything that has happened to me, there is still a part of me that is afraid of what sharing this will do to my life. I am a private person. I have always been a private person. But I have been sitting with this thing inside me for months now, and I cannot hold it anymore. I cannot keep watching what is happening in this world and stay quiet. So I am going to tell you what happened to me. And I am asking you from the bottom of my heart, please do not come to me with arguments or debates. I am not here for that. I am here because what I saw was real, and I believe with everything inside me that if I do not share it, something will be lost, something that people need to hear. Let me start from the beginning. For the last 4 years, my heart has been a problem. I do not want to go into all the medical details because that is not the point of this. The point is that my heart has not been right. I have been in and out of hospitals. I have taken more pills than I can count. I have sat in waiting rooms listening to doctors tell me things that no person wants to hear about their own body. My wife has cried more times than I think she wants me to know. My kids have gone quiet in that way that children go quiet when they are scared but trying not to show it. That has been my life for 4 years, living with a heart that keeps reminding me it is not well. And then on the 4th day of January 2026, everything stopped. I do not remember collapsing. I am told I collapsed. I am told it happened at home, that my wife found me, that she called emergency services immediately. I am told the paramedics worked on me for a long time. I am told that by the time I arrived at the hospital, I was in a very bad condition. I do not remember any of that. What I know is that I went into a coma, and I stayed there for 11 days. 11 days. My family was beside themselves. I know this because they told me later. After I woke up, after I started to recover enough to talk, after the tubes were out and I could hold a conversation. My wife told me she had never been so afraid in her life. She told me she sat next to my bed for hours every day just holding my hand and praying. My children came. My youngest daughter, she is 19, she told me she read to me from the Bible every morning because she did not know what else to do. I have cried thinking about that. I am crying a little bit right now just writing it down. But here is the thing. I was not in that hospital bed for those 11 days. My body was there. My heart was still beating, barely but beating. But I was not there. I was somewhere else entirely. And what I experienced in that somewhere else is the reason I am telling you all of this. I want to be honest with you. I have wrestled with whether to share this. I started writing it down and then I deleted it. I started recording myself speaking and then I stopped halfway through. Every time I got to a certain part of what I saw, something in me would pull back and say, who is going to believe this? Who is going to take this seriously? People are going to think I made this up. People are going to think this is just a sick man's dream or his mind doing strange things because of all the medication and all the stress. I understand if that is what you think. I really do. I cannot make you believe me. All I can do is tell you what happened, what I saw, what I felt, and what I was told to share. So here it is. I do not know exactly when it began. There is no moment I can point to where I went from the darkness of the coma to the place I found myself. It was more like coming into awareness slowly. Like when you wake up in the morning and for a few seconds you do not know where you are, but then the room comes into focus and you remember. It was like that, except the place that came into focus was unlike anything I had ever seen in my entire life. I was standing. That was the first thing I noticed. I was standing, my body felt fine. There was no pain, no heaviness, no tiredness. For 4 years I had carried this weight in my chest, this dull ache that never fully went away, and it was gone. I felt light. I felt well. I felt like a younger version of myself, like the Christopher that existed before the illness came. That feeling alone was enough to make me stop and just breathe for a moment. Then I looked around. I was in a garden. And I know that word, garden, sounds simple. It sounds like something ordinary. But what I was standing in was not ordinary in any way. It was alive in a way that I do not know how to explain. Everything in it was breathing almost. The trees were tall and full, and their leaves caught light from somewhere above, and that light was warm and golden, and it touched everything. The grass under my feet was so green it almost did not look real, except it was more real than any grass I had ever walked on. I could feel it under my feet, and it was soft and cool, and it felt like the earth was welcoming me, like the ground itself knew I was there and was glad about it. There were fruits on the trees, so many fruits, and I walked closer to look at them, and I felt something move in me, something like wonder, like the feeling a child gets when they see something beautiful for the first time and have no words for it. These fruits were nothing like what I had seen in a grocery store or a market or anyone's yard. They were perfect. They were full and ripe and alive, in the same way that everything in that place was alive. There were colors I recognized, but also colors I could not name. There were round fruits and long fruits and fruits that hung in heavy clusters from branches that bent gently under their weight. Each one looked like it had been made with care, not grown by accident or by a process, but made with intention and with love for whoever would receive it. I stood there looking at them, and I understood, without anyone telling me, that these were meant for people, that these were what food was supposed to be, what it was originally designed to be, not just something to fill the stomach, but something given with thought, something that carried real nourishment, the kind that goes all the way into a person and gives them what they need to live fully and well. I reached out and touched one of the fruits, and it was warm from the light above, and firm, and the skin of it felt alive under my fingers. There were other trees too, trees I could not identify, trees with bark that seemed to glow a little from inside, and flowers I had never seen before, with petals so fine they looked like they were made of something lighter than any material I knew. And water. There was water moving somewhere nearby. I could hear it, and when I found it, it was clear. So clear I could see every stone at the bottom. I knelt down and looked into it, and I could feel the coolness coming off it, and I felt peace. Real peace. The kind that you do not feel very often in this life. The kind that makes you realize how rare it has been. Then I saw the people. They were scattered through the garden, walking, sitting together, eating. And I noticed something about them right away. They were old. I could see in their faces, in their hands, in the way time had written itself across them, that these were people who had lived many years. Long lives. And yet there was something about them that was young. Not young the way a young person is young, full of energy that has not yet found its shape. This was different. This was a fullness, a completeness. They moved with ease. They laughed without anything holding the laughter back. They talked to each other with the ease of people who are not carrying anything heavy. Their eyes were bright. Their faces were peaceful. Not the peace of someone who has given up, but the peace of someone who has everything they need. They were eating the fruits from the trees. I watched an old woman pick something from a low branch and bring it to her mouth, and the look on her face was not just satisfaction. It was something deeper, like she was receiving something that was meant for her, like there was a connection between what she was eating and who she was and what she needed, and that connection was unbroken and clean and right. I stood and watched them for what felt like a long time. I wanted to stay there. Every part of me wanted to stay there. There was no urgency in that place, no pressure. No clock telling me that time was moving and that I was falling behind. Just the warm light and the living trees and the people who were old and well and glad to be alive. And then the ground beneath my feet changed. I do not know how else to describe it. One moment I was standing in that garden, and the next moment that place was gone. Not slowly, not like a dream fading. It was sudden, like a door closing. The warm light, the grass, the trees, all of it vanished. And I was somewhere else. I was looking at another world, and at first it looked similar. That is what confused me at first. There were things that looked like trees. There were things that looked like fruits. There were colors that reminded me of what I had just seen. But when I looked more carefully, something was wrong. Something was deeply, fundamentally wrong with everything in front of me. The fruits in the first garden had been alive. I know that sounds strange. But when you have seen something that is truly alive, truly full of what it was made to carry, you can tell immediately when something is not. And what I was looking at now was not. It looked like food. It was shaped like food. The colors were close. The sizes were close. If someone had shown me a picture of both side by side, I might not have been able to point to the difference immediately. But standing there in front of it, I knew. Whatever it is that makes something real and nourishing and true, that thing was absent. What I was looking at was a copy. An imitation of what I had just seen in that garden. Close enough to confuse you if you were not paying careful attention. But not the real thing. Not even close to the real thing at its core. I stood there trying to understand what I was seeing. and while I was still trying to make sense of it, I noticed the people. There were people on one side, still near what remained of the first world, still close to the living trees and the true fruits. And then there were others, coming toward this second place, this artificial version. And I watched to understand why, what was pulling them away from what was good, and toward what was not. Then I heard it. There were people speaking loudly, with confidence, with excitement. They were speaking to the people who were still in the good place. And what they were saying was that the food in this new place was better, that it would make people live forever, that the old food, the food from the trees in the garden, was limited, that what had always been eaten before was not enough anymore, that this new thing, this created and designed and manufactured thing, was superior to anything that had come before it, that whoever came and ate from this new place would not age the way they feared, would not get sick, would be stronger and better and longer lived than anyone who stayed with the old way. Their voices were persuasive. I want to be honest about that. Standing there watching, even I could feel the pull of what they were saying. They spoke with certainty. They spoke like people who had done the research and found the answer and were generously sharing it with everyone. They did not seem like they were lying. They seemed like they believed every word they were saying, and that made them more dangerous than if they had seemed dishonest. And people listened. That is what broke something in me. They listened. They looked at what was being offered. They looked at the voices doing the offering, confident and clear and full of assurance. And they started moving. One person, then another, then a small group, then more. They came toward the artificial place. They started taking from it. They started eating. At first they seemed fine. They smiled. They went about their days. They talked to each other about how good the new food was. And I stood watching, holding my breath, hoping that what I was seeing would not go where I feared it was going. Then slowly, things started changing, not fast. That is what made it terrible to watch. It was slow, subtle. The kind of slow that you can miss if you are not paying close attention, if you are not looking for it. Their faces changed. Not right away, but over time. The brightness that had been in the eyes of the people in the first garden, that fullness and ease, it started to leave. They began to look tired in a way that rest did not fix. They began to look like something was being taken from them gradually, quietly, without their knowledge. Then they began to look unwell. Their bodies began to betray them, in ways that confused them because they did not understand the cause. They had been told this food was better. They had believed it. They had no reason to connect what they were eating with what was happening to their bodies. So they did not connect it. They kept eating, and they kept declining, and then some of them began to die. I cannot describe to you what it felt like to watch that. I started to weep. I am not a man who cries easily. I have always been the kind of person who holds things in, who processes quietly, who does not let emotion come out where people can see it. But watching those people suffer and die, knowing what they had left behind, knowing they had walked away from the place that was meant for them, I wept in a way I had not wept since I was a small child. Deep, heavy tears. My whole body was shaking with it. I wanted to call out to the ones who were still eating, to tell them to stop, to go back, to return to what they had left. I wanted to shout. I felt the urgency of it in every part of me. But something held the sound in. I could weep, but I could not be heard. I was watching, but I could not reach them. The ones who had already died were beyond what my voice could do for them. They were gone. And the terrible weight of that, of being present and helpless at the same time, was one of the heaviest things I have ever carried. Even now, writing this, I feel it again. That helplessness, that grief for people who did not know they were in danger because no one had told them to stop and ask whether what they were being given was truly what it claimed to be. I was still weeping when I became aware that I was not alone. It is hard to describe exactly how the awareness came. It was not that someone walked up beside me. It was more like a presence arrived, like the atmosphere around me shifted and made room for something. Like everything that had been heavy and dark and full of grief suddenly recognized that something was near that was not any of those things. The air changed. The weight of the grief did not disappear, but it moved slightly, like it stepped to the side to make space. The presence was warm. That is the first thing I felt about it, and it was full in the way that a room feels different when someone important enters it, except this was unlike any person I had ever stood near in my life. This presence did not just occupy space beside me. It was in everything around me at the same time. It was in the air, it was in the light, it was in the stillness. I could feel it moving through my chest the way warmth moves through a cold room when a fire is lit. I turned, and I knew who it was. I want to be careful here because I know what it sounds like. I know there are people who will hear this and think I am exaggerating or constructing something, but I am telling you that in that moment, I knew. The same way you know your own name. The same way you know, without having to think about it, the face of someone who has loved you your whole life. There was no question in me, no confusion, no wondering. I knew who was standing before me. It was Jesus. I am not going to try to describe him the way a storybook would. I do not have the right words, and I do not think the right words exist in any language I know. What I can tell you is that everything I had read about him, everything I had been told about him, every service I had ever attended, every prayer I had ever spoken quietly in a dark room when I was afraid, none of it had prepared me for actually being in his presence. There is a difference between knowing about someone and standing before them, and that difference was so enormous that I could barely hold myself together. I felt seen, completely and entirely seen. Not seen the way a stranger looks at you and makes a quick judgment. Seen all the way through. Every part of me, the parts I was proud of, and the parts I had hidden even from myself, all of it was visible. And what I felt from him toward all of that was not judgment. It was not disappointment. It was something I can only describe as a love that had been present my entire life, whether I had noticed it or not. A love that did not need me to be anything other than what I was in order to exist. I cannot tell you how long I stood there before he began to show me things. Time did not work the way it works here. There was no sense of minutes passing or of needing to move on. There was just the present moment and what was happening in it. He showed me that what I had been watching, the garden and the false world beside it, was not just a picture. It was not an illustration made up for my benefit. He showed me that it was a true representation of something that is happening on the earth right now in this time, in the world I had left behind when my heart failed on the 4th of January. He revealed to me that people no longer stop to ask what they are taking in. He showed me this clearly, and he showed me the cost of it. People now accept what they are given, what they are told, what is placed in front of them, without pausing to examine it. Not just food, though food was part of it. Everything. What they are told about their health, what they are told about what their bodies need, what they are told about how to live and what to eat, and what to take and what to put inside themselves. He showed me that the habit of accepting without questioning has become so normal that most people do not even realize they are doing it. It is just how life works now. Something is presented, it is accepted. Something is offered, it is taken. And the question of whether it is truly what it claims to be, whether it carries what the original was made to carry, that question is no longer being asked. He showed me that this has cost lives, real lives. People who suffered because they accepted without examining. People who declined and weakened because they were eating and consuming things that looked like nourishment but were not. And they had no way to trace the decline back to its cause because they had long since stopped asking the question that would have led them there. He showed me something else that was important. He showed me that most of what people consume in this age feels real. It is designed to feel real. It is made to seem like the original. And because it feels real, because it satisfies in the short term, because the difference between it and the true thing is not immediately obvious, people do not sense that something is wrong until the damage has already been building for a long time. They are aware only of a vague unease, a sense that something in them is not right, that something is missing, but they cannot name it, they cannot trace it, and so they continue. And then he told me something that shifted everything I had been understanding. He told me this was not only about food. He told me plainly that what I had seen with the garden and the artificial world beside it was a picture of something much larger. He told me that the same pattern, the original being quietly and convincingly replaced with something that looks like the original but is not, is happening in the faith of people, in what people believe, in what people worship, in who people are placing their trust. He told me that the deception coming upon this earth goes far beyond what the body eats or drinks. It has to do with what the soul feeds on. It has to do with what people believe is true when it is not. It has to do with who people will follow when a very convincing voice tells them that following is the right thing to do. He told me to watch, and then something changed in what I was seeing. My eyes were open to something that I was not expecting and that I have thought about every single day since I woke up in that hospital bed. I saw a beast. I do not say that word casually. I am not trying to be dramatic or to frighten anyone, but there is no other word for what I saw. It appeared in the sky above me, and the first thing I noticed was the size of it. It was enormous. Not enormous the way a large building is enormous, where you can still walk around it and understand its edges. This was enormous in a way that had no clear boundary. It filled the sky the way a storm fills the sky, except a storm moves and shifts and has gaps where light comes through. This had no gaps. It was solid and terrible and completely present. It had 4 horns. I counted them. I do not know exactly why I counted them. Some part of my mind was trying to hold on to detail, trying to be precise about what I was seeing, the way you do when something is happening that you know you will need to carry back with you. 4 horns, and its eyes were red. Not the red of something warm or living. The red of something burning and very old and cold at the same time. It was angry. I could feel its anger without needing to get close to it. It was the kind of anger that does not shout or move impulsively, but sits completely still and certain of itself. The kind of anger that has been patient for a very long time and has made its decision about what it is going to do. And it was speaking to people. That is what disturbed me most. Not what it looked like, what it was doing, because it was not threatening anyone. It was not forcing anyone toward it with fear. It was speaking to them in a way that I can only describe as deeply appealing, like it understood exactly what people had been carrying, like it had listened carefully to every worry and every longing and every question that had gone unanswered for years and now had the exact right words for all of it. I watched people's faces as they listened to it, and I saw something happen in their expressions that I have seen in this life before. It is the look of someone who has been searching for a long time and has finally found what they were looking for. The tension in their faces relaxed. Their posture changed. They leaned toward what was speaking to them. They were not afraid of it. They were drawn to it. Because what it was saying felt like relief. It felt like recognition. It felt like finally, someone who understands. That is what the beast was giving them. That feeling, that sense of being understood and provided for, and no longer alone in the searching. And people were moving toward it, not being pushed, choosing, walking with their own legs and their own will towards something that I could see clearly was not what it presented itself to be. And I wanted to stop them. I felt the same urgency I had felt watching people eat from the artificial food and decline. I felt it multiply. Because this was larger. This was not just about the body. This was about something that goes deeper than the body. Something that shapes a person at their very center. But the people could not hear me. I was a witness and not a participant in what I was seeing. All I could do was watch and understand. I looked at the faces of those who were moving toward the beast, and I saw that they were not foolish people. They were not weak or simple. They were ordinary people, the kind of people you see every day. People who had questions they had not been able to answer. People who had been looking for something real for a long time. People who were tired of searching and had not yet found what they were truly looking for. People who had been eating from the artificial world for so long that their ability to recognize the real thing had weakened. They had lost the habit of asking the question. They had been conditioned, slowly and over time, to accept what was placed before them. And so when this arrived, presenting itself as the answer, they accepted it. He revealed to me something about why this would be so effective. He showed me that the deceiver does not come looking like a deceiver. He does not arrive with the appearance of something obviously dangerous or obviously false. He arrives looking like exactly what the world has been waiting for. He carries the language of the things people love. He speaks in terms that feel familiar and comforting and right. He presents himself as a solution to the specific pains and fears that people have been living with. And he is convincing in a way that is almost impossible to resist, if you have not been holding carefully to what is real. He showed me that the people who followed were not following because they were careless about truth. They were following because they had lost their anchor to the original. They had drifted slowly, over many years, away from their first love. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a way they could point to and say, there, that was the moment I left. It had happened gradually. The way a person drifts from a good habit without a single decision to stop. The way faith can become thin without any one moment of abandonment. The way the original can be replaced, piece by piece, with something that looks similar, until one day you look around and realize the original is gone and you are not sure exactly when it left. He revealed to me that this is the real danger. Not the beast itself, as terrible as it was to look at. The real danger is the long preparation that makes people unable to recognize the beast when it comes. The years of accepting without examining. The slow weakening of the instinct to ask, is this true? Is this real? Is this what was originally given? That weakening, he showed me, is what the enemy has been working toward for a very long time. Because once it is complete, once people have lost that habit entirely, they are open to anything that comes with the right appearance and the right words. He told me something that I have returned to in my mind more times than I can count since I came back. He told me that the deceiver, when he finally arrives in his full form, will look like what everyone needs. He will not look like an enemy. He will look like a friend. He will not look like destruction. He will look like rescue. And people who have kept themselves close to the original, who have held on to their first love, who have not allowed the slow replacement to happen in their hearts, those people will sense that something is wrong, even when they cannot immediately name what it is. They will feel the absence of what is real and what is being presented to them. They will have maintained the ability to ask the question, But those who have drifted, those who have spent years taking in the artificial and calling it real, those people will have no warning system left. They will follow. And at the end, when the following has led them somewhere from which there is no easy return, they will understand what they lost. And the grief of that understanding will be profound. The scene closed while I was still taking in what I had seen. Not gradually, not like a dream losing its edges. It closed the way a hand closes, decisively and completely. The beast, the sky, the people moving toward it, all of it was simply gone. And I was standing in a quiet place. Just the presence beside me and myself, and the weight of everything I had just witnessed. He told me that I was chosen to see this. I want to be honest about how I received those words because I do not want anyone to misunderstand what they meant. He was not telling me that I was chosen because of anything good in me. He was not telling me I was special or more deserving than other people. I felt clearly, in the way understanding arrived in that place, that the choosing was about function and not about worth. There were people who needed to hear this. There was a message that needed a voice, and I was the person given that assignment. The way a delivery person is not the author of the letter they carry. I was handed something to bring back. That is what it felt like. He told me that what I had seen was real and that it was happening now, not in some far future, not in a distant time that people alive today would never see now, in this age, in this world. The slow replacement is already underway. The artificial is already beside the original, and the voices are already speaking, telling people that the new is better, that the old is not enough, that whoever comes to the new thing will have more and live better and never lack again. He told me that everyone who hears this needs to prepare. Not with fear, he was clear about that. Preparation that comes from fear produces the wrong kind of readiness. He was talking about the preparation that comes from returning to what is real, from coming back to the original, from returning to your first love, which is Christ, and holding that love carefully and deliberately, the way you hold something precious that you have come close to losing. He told me that when the deceiver comes in his full form, he will look exactly like what people have been waiting for. He will seem to answer the questions people have been carrying. He will seem to speak to the longing that people have not been able to name. And the only protection against that is having something inside you that recognizes the real thing so clearly that when the imitation is presented, no matter how convincing, something in you sounds an alarm. That something is your connection to the original, your relationship with Christ. Your daily returning to what was given first and cannot be improved upon. He told me that this connection is not automatic and it is not permanent if it is not tended. It grows thin when it is not attended to. It weakens when it is not fed. And the enemy knows this. The strategy of slow replacement is designed specifically to thin that connection over time, so quietly that the person does not notice until the day comes when they need it most and find it is no longer strong. He told me to tell everyone who hears this to come back to their first love before that day arrives. Come back while there is still time to come back. Come back while the connection can still be strengthened. Come back before the convincing voice arrives and finds you without the thing that would have helped you recognize it for what it is. Then I was sent back. It was not gentle. I want to be honest about that. There was no slow and peaceful transition. Going back felt like being pulled hard through something, like being returned to a body that had been waiting cold and heavy, and full of all the pain that had not been present in that other place. I remember nothing of the actual moment of return. The next thing I was aware of was a hospital room, lights that were too bright, sounds that were too loud after the quiet of where I had been, and my wife's face above me. She was crying. She was saying my name over and over, and I could see that she had been afraid for a very long time, and was only now beginning to release some of that fear because I was awake, and she could see that I was there. I could not speak at first. For several days I could not speak with any clarity. The coma had left things in my body that needed time to come back. My strength was very low. There were days when lifting my arm required real effort. There were days when a thought would start in my mind and dissolve before I could finish it. The recovery from 11 days in a coma is not something that happens in a week or a month. I am still recovering honestly, even as I write this. My heart is still not what it was before January. My body is still finding its way back. But I am here. I am awake. I am able to hold a pen and form a sentence and remember what I was sent back to say. For a long time I told no one what I had seen, not my wife, not my children, not my pastor, not my doctor, not anyone. I held it completely inside myself, and the reason was not doubt. I was not questioning whether what I had experienced was real. The reason was that I did not know yet how to carry it out into the world. It sat inside me like something enormous that had no door to leave through. Every time I thought about trying to put it into words, the words felt too small. The experience was too large and too alive for the words I had available. So I held it. I prayed about it. I sat with it in the early mornings when the house was quiet and I could think without interruption. And then I started watching the world more carefully. I started paying close attention to what was happening around me, not in a paranoid way, just with the eyes of someone who has been shown something and is now seeing the connection between that thing and what is directly in front of them. And what I saw as I paid attention was sobering. I saw people accepting what they were given without asking whether it was real. I saw people eating and consuming and following and believing without pausing to examine. I saw confidence placed in voices that had never earned it, simply because those voices were loud and certain and presented themselves well. I saw faith being thinned out slowly, the original being replaced piece by piece with something that used the same language but carried none of the same life. I saw children growing up without a strong anchor to what is real, being handed the artificial from the beginning, never knowing what the original tasted like, never having a reference point that would help them recognize the difference. And one evening I was sitting alone, and I thought again about the people I had watched moving away from the garden, the ones who had listened to the convincing voices and walked toward the artificial place. I thought about how they had not been forced, they had chosen freely. They had simply not known that stopping to ask a question could have changed everything. No one had told them to pause. No one had warned them that something can look real and feel real and still be empty of what makes the real thing real. And I understood then that I could not keep what I was carrying inside me any longer. That the assignment I had been given was not optional. That there were people, right now, who were standing at the same place those people had stood, being offered something that was not what it claimed to be, and not knowing to ask the question that would protect them. I am telling you what I saw. I am telling you that a deception is coming that is larger than most people are prepared for. It will not arrive looking like a deception. It will arrive looking like a solution. It will speak in the language of what you have been longing for. It will seem to understand your pain and your questions and your fears. And if your connection to the original has been thinned out by years of accepting the artificial, you will not have what you need to recognize it. Come back to the original. Come back to your first love. Come back to Christ, who is the only one who is truly what he says he is. The only one who does not need to convince you with persuasion because his reality speaks for itself to anyone who is close enough to hear it. Tend that connection every day. Not just when things are difficult. Every day. The same way you tend anything that matters to you. Feed it. Return to it. Ask the questions that keep you close to what is real. Is this true? Is this from the original? Does this carry what I know the real thing carries? Train yourself to ask those questions now, before the day when asking them becomes the most important thing you have ever done. I am not seeking your attention. I am not building a platform. I am a private person who would very much prefer to recover quietly in his home, with his family around him. But I cannot watch what is happening in this world and stay quiet. Not after what I saw. Not after what I was told to share. Please take this seriously. Not because I am asking you to, because of what is at stake. The deceiver is coming. He will look exactly like what you need. And the only way to recognize him when he arrives is to be so close to the real thing that the imitation, no matter how convincing, does not fool you. Come back. While there is still time, come back. This is not a story I made up. This is not something I created to attract an audience or gather views. I did not ask for this experience. I did not choose to go where I went for 11 days. I was taken there, and I was sent back with this message. Take it for what it is, a warning, given to me so that I could give it to you. I have done my part in carrying it here. What you do with it now is between you and God. Please do not waste it. To those who will act now, I pray that God will bless you. I am asking you to please share this message to all the people you know that would love to listen to this message. If you can do this for me, I will be very glad. May God bless you.